Kat Timpf waited years, swearing she'd never marry or have children. She dated chaos, didn't commit, and based her career on being unstable. And then she met a man who totally turned her life upside down. He wasn't a comedian or a TV personality. He was something far more unexpected. She transitioned from sleeping on yoga mats to mansions in 4 cities within 5 years. But the most unbelievable thing isn't how she changed. It's what occurred just hours after she gave birth to their first child. The timing was so ridiculous, she called it a miracle that could have saved her life. Kat Timpf was born on October 29, 1988 in Detroit, Michigan. Her dad, Daniel, worked long factory hours just to put food on the table. Detroit had already lost more than 250,000 individuals by then, and the jobs were disappearing. The Timpfs resided in Wixom and struggled to get by. Kat witnessed each night her dad returning home tired, grease on his hands, his body weary. Her mom, Annery, was one of 8 children from a large Polish Catholic family. It was a love-filled household, though always in need of funds. Kat understood very well what economic hardship was like. She knew it inside and out. It left its mark on her. Life at school only turned for the worse. Kat was bullied relentlessly. Kids teased her for being loud and unusual. She was pelted with food. She was left out of group assignments. She was prescribed amphetamines for ADHD at age 5 and stayed on them for 30 years until her pregnancy in 2024. That's how deep her battle was. She started harming herself as a way to deal with anxiety. The worst part was that the teachers saw it all and did nothing. She learned early on that staying quiet didn't protect you. That's why she's always been an advocate for free speech. Words were her armor. Books and writing was her sanctuary. That was all she had. At Lutheran High School North in Macomb, it began to get better. The school had only approximately 560 students and a 16.1 teacher-to-student ratio. That intimate atmosphere worked for her. She got involved in theater and the school newspaper. Her trauma became stage humor and columns. She still did not fit in, but she was her now. She had a sense of humor, sometimes awkwardly. Despite all the pain in her past, she managed to achieve good grades and got into a rhythm. The Christian background of her school conflicted with her politics, but she began to understand who she truly was. This was her first step away from darkness. Then, 2014 happened. It shattered her. Her mom, Marie, had been diagnosed with cardiac amyloidosis, an ultra-rare illness that strikes 1 out of 100,000 individuals. Doctors continued to make the wrong diagnosis until it was too late. Once they finally realized what it was, she had only 3 weeks. She passed away at 57. Kat was 26, sleeping on a yoga mat in a small California apartment. She was working a series of jobs, penniless and shattered. Her mother's death devastated her. That hurt never dissipated. Afterwards, she'd make light of it on Mother's Day online. But what lay behind the jokes was too much to bear. Yet, she persevered. She attended Hillsdale College from 2006 to 2010. She graduated magna cum laude in English. She was a member of Chi Omega. She wrote for the school newspaper. She spent time abroad in England. She interned at the Detroit News. Her parents were unable to afford college, so she held jobs the entire time just to remain enrolled. It was 2010 in the middle of the recession, but she graduated anyhow. Her education at Hillsdale honed her voice and formed her political ideology. That combination of writing, performing, and liberty was her entire career. She interned at KFIA in 2012, 640 in Los Angeles. She was a helicopter traffic reporter each morning at 4 a.m., but she was not able to take instructions. That was the entire job. She got fired. She was not able to survive by herself, and so needed the unpaid internship. She attended a local community college just to make things legitimate. She worked 4 months without a day off. Early traffic reporting, radio station internship until 4 p.m. diner shifts until 2 a.m. She was on empty, but she did not give up. Campus reform employed her in 2013. She covered protests and censorship on campus. Her reports revealed ridiculous policies, such as canceling a petting zoo due to a camel or closing down a Fiesta fundraiser over one word. She employed biting sarcasm to reveal how free speech was dying on campus. These were not stories. They were her fight back against the silencing that she experienced growing up. But big media did not want her. Her unpaid Fox News internship was ended due to California labor laws. Her traffic job evaporated. She lost her car and apartment, so she drove up the California coast, knocking on radio doors. They loved her sound, but offered her nothing. She pleaded her way into a small spot at the Washington Times. She would continually ask for mic time. They finally gave her 2 minutes. She showed them she could do something no one else could. That 2 minutes was her beginning. Her boyfriend left her in that isolating LA period. She was alone, so she went into stand-up. Open mic nights were her therapy. She spoke about breakups, loneliness, and people laughed. Not always. There were times she bombed big. Jokes about feminism didn't always land. She'd stand there 45 minutes of silence and hate. But it helped her learn timing, learn how to read a room. That failure was her training ground. By 2014, she ended up at International Business Times. She wrote about how government red tape strangled small businesses. She received a 2012 Robert Novak Journalism Fellowship. Her project dealt with how California's policies might influence the entire nation. That was her credibility. She wrote for Investors Business Daily and National Review. She made it onto the list of 30 under 30 conservative voices. All of that for just not giving up. She broke through on May 31st, 2015. She was on the Greg Gutfeld Show on Fox News. Her first show went viral. She called out celebrities for speaking about climate change on private jets. She told them they had more carbon prints than brain cells. 50,000 plus shares in one day. People paid attention. Ratings showed viewers tuned in to watch her. Fox brought her on full-time within 3 months. Her features received 23% more views than other people's. She wasn't funny. She was cutting through the static. In 2017, Fox appointed her co-host status on the Fox News Experts. It premiered on May 1st. Her libertarian positions clashed on a regular basis with Eric Bolling and Ibani K. Williams. It all came to a head after Charlottesville. She criticized Trump's reaction, announced there were no good people in white supremacists. Ratings reached 1.8 million viewers. The show was hot, but lasted quickly. On September 8, 2017, Bolling was let go for sexual misconduct. The show was done. Kat was left dangling. In May 2019, she started Sincerely Kat on Fox Nation. It was meant to be lighthearted. Instead, it got real. She spoke of anxiety, eating disorders, even her father's passing. One episode, she removed her fake lashes, fake hair, fake glasses on camera, and said, "None of this is real." That episode reached 2.3 million views. People saw a real person, a person tearing down the walls. It was Fox Nation's second most viewed original show. When Gutfeld premiered in April 2021, Kat was prepared. The show drew 1.69 million viewers on day one. By January of 2022, it was averaging 2.12 million. Her cancel culture jokes went viral. She told people cancel culture was the pastime of those with no real pastimes in September 2021. That statement reached 8.4 million impressions. Then there was September 18th of 2024. Trump appeared on her show. The show raked in 4.9 million viewers. She stood her ground against him. Still playful, still witty. She became the most viewed woman on late-night television. But her worst nightmare was years prior. July 24th, 2017 at Union Pool in Brooklyn, a man entered, spotted her, and poured an entire bottle of water over her head. He had crept up and watched from behind her, then charged and vanished in less than 90 seconds. She couldn't deliver her speech that evening. It was regarding criminal justice reform. The attack shut her up. She tweeted, "This wasn't just some random drunk guy." That tweet received more than 45,000 retweets. For months, she'd go out with security. The man was never apprehended. Made her something else at that moment. Kat Timpf's emergence wasn't just unexpected. It was as if someone had torn open a tightly sealed envelope in the middle of a quiet room. She published her first book on April 18th, 2023. You can't make that up. and it instantly became an Amazon #1 bestseller. Within a matter of weeks, she was appearing on the New York Times list and remained there for 3 weeks. But it wasn't the sales alone that left people in awe. It was what she wrote. She didn't hesitate to talk about rape jokes, cancer, dead parents, or cancel culture. She unearthed stories that most people kept buried deep within and managed to make them humorous. A 2019 study she quoted indicated 40% of Americans were already self-censoring because they feared it. That percentage did not hover in the air, it anchored everything. Her book demonstrated what it was to continue speaking out. And then in September of 2024, she came out with the second book, I Used to Like You Until. And once more, it made the New York Times list. But this time, instead of just raising an eyebrow, people dropped their phones. One of the most shocking stories within the book was about a woman that she dated. It wasn't about religion or politics that made the relationship implode, but due to the woman's ultra-aggressive gender studies mother, a professor. She could not bear her daughter going out with someone from Fox News. Kat wrote bluntly that she didn't want to be called heterosexual. That sentence resonated throughout conservative and liberal circles equally. Then she appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast in September 2024 to discuss it all. The episode received millions of views. But Kat wasn't unfamiliar with controversy. She'd been writing at National Review since 2014, and her columns even then had people screaming. In one, she criticized universities for hosting workshops while also advancing victim narratives. In another, she claimed Hillary Clinton couldn't refer to herself as a feminist while destroying Bill's accusers. People weren't responding to her thoughts. They were enraged. But she didn't quit. In 2015, her article, Doing Feminism, provoked a controversy that continued to spin for weeks. She became the woman whose words people either wanted to quote or cancel. Her podcast, The Kat Timpf Show, began in November of 2016, not 2020, as some believe, and it became her platform to pull back the curtain. In one episode, she discussed how Accutane destroyed her mental well-being. She was so down that viewers wrote in and asked her if she still wanted to be on the air. She mentioned she hated herself more than any one of her critics could even imagine. She discussed anxiety, ADHD, and the death of her mother, using humor as her sole means through it. It was unvarnished. She wasn't smooth, but that's what kept them coming back. On July 24th, 2017, things escalated to the physical. She was at the Union Pool in Brooklyn set to give a speech for her friend Ben Kissel's campaign when a guy approached, poked her, and splashed a 1.5L bottle of water on her. It wasn't an accident. He had gone to find her. She had to forego her speech. She described it as making her feel like she did not even have a right to be outside. Surveillance indicated he picked on her due to the nature of her work. It was a 28-year-old woman drenched and muzzled. It was not the first time the public descended upon her. She had earlier in November 2015 made a snarky comment on Red Eye that Star Wars fans jab one another with their little space nerd sticks. That one sentence escalated into viral hate, death threats, rape threats videos. Some fans commented that they'd like to carve her face up and strap it to a thermal detonator. She didn't apologize for it. She wrote yet another column and stated she would not play the political correctness game. She wasn't going to back down regardless. What people did not realize until 2024 was how horrible things were in start. Having graduated magna lad from Hillsdale, she interned at Fox, but had to quit due to unpaid intern loss. Then followed brutal jobs. 4 a.m. traffic reports in L.A., radio shifts, late-night diner shifts. For months with not one day off. When she was let go from a radio job, she drove up the coast of California making demos.